Hello and welcome to the Whoniverse. Now, one of my favourite episodes in the large lineup of Doctor Who stories is The Waters of Mars, a blockbuster adventure that sees the Doctor pushed to his limits as a character, with David Tennant providing one of his best performances as the Time Lord. It really is a brilliant tale with high stakes and a great sense of depth. To pull off such a great feat of storytelling, you need a brilliant villain, one that made everyone question how far you can go with fear in the family sci-fi series. That's where the Flood come in. A parasitic water-based life form that had some big plans for our blue planet. In this video, I'll be looking at the origins and the attempted invasion of these infectious monsters, from their battles with the Ice Warriors to Bowie Base One. This is the history of the Flood. So, the Flood, a viral infection originating on Mars in the form of water, one of the most potent substances capable of wearing down cliff tops, mountains, the whole of the world. Water always wins. With the Flood, its ultimate manifestation. One drop, just one drop, has the power to infect a host, causing them to spasm and shake until they were transformed. Once infected, the host would develop cracked skin around the mouth and blackened teeth, as well as an internal fission in the host's body that produced great volumes of water, the liquid dripping from their mouth and hands, which could be easily weaponized into higher pressures and volumes. If one drop can change you, then a torrent of water heading your way can only mean trouble. The infected could run faster than ordinary humans too, and had also developed to draw their oxygen from water itself and not air, enabling them to survive harsher environments. The Flood could also manipulate the host's vocal cords to create a deafening scream so powerful and pitched in a way that could shatter glaciers. The Flood are truly terrifying, not only in appearance but potential power, first appearing sometime relative to the 9th century. On the Red Planet, in the time of the Ice Warriors, Mars was plagued by the infection known as the Flood. According to Grand Marshal Skull, many of the Ice Warriors fell before they managed to contain it, and even then they had to sterilise the ground itself to remove all traces of the Flood. Ultimately, the Ice Warriors found that the only way to stop the spread was to encase it in a glacier in the Gusev crater. However, while lowering the contaminated substance into the glacier, the Ice Warrior Haffy became infected and fled in a ship. Skull followed with his forces and managed to force the ship to crash land on Earth on the island of Ian Mayen in the North Atlantic, knowing that if the Flood reached the sea, it would spell the doom of humanity. The entire planet could be infected if this scenario was not handled properly. Luckily, a group of Vikings came to help. The Wolves of Fenric found the crashed ship, along with the Ice Warrior patrol sent to contain the virus. Fortunately, the Doctor in his 12th incarnation and Bill Potts discovered the fractions as well. The Flood went on to take many of the Martian and human lives. The Doctor, who recognised the virus from his previous confrontation with the evil, worked with Skull and the Vikings in an effort to contain the Flood, though the Ice Warriors were slowed by the temperatures of a nearby volcano, which also prevented the Flood from being frozen on Earth. The Doctor convinced the Vikings and the Ice Warriors into forming an alliance to hold back the Flood, using a variety of Martian sonic weaponry to push the Flood to the other side of the mountain, where the Doc would attempt to negotiate with the threat. Wearing spacesuits, the Doctor and Bill learnt the intentions of the Flood were to spread across the planet. The Doctor offered to take the Flood to another world, with huge oceans, but ones that were uninhabited, if it would leave Earth alone. However, the Flood refused this offer, as there were not sentient hosts on this world. Though the Flood attempted to infect the Doctor and Bill, their spacesuits protected them from the attack. After an encounter with possessed Vikings and a Haemavor, the Doctor realised that Fenric was in the Vikings' treasure, still trapped in the Shadow Dimension, and that the Vikings were the ancestors of the people he met when he fought Fenric in his 7th incarnation. Fenric was an immensely powerful sentient force that was at least as old as the universe itself, and an intelligence of pure evil, later identified as a Great Old One. Having figured out the truth, the Doctor had Bill get the Ice Warriors to leave, but created distraction along the way, while the Doctor snuck past Fenric and the Flood to meet with a Haemavor. The Doctor revealed to the creature that Fenric intended to replace the Haemavors with the Flood by infecting the world's water supply with the virus, rather than the chemical slime that created the future the Haemavors came from. The Haemavor agreed to an alliance with the Doctor for mutual benefit, and used the weapon Halfdan stole from the Ice Warriors to set off the volcano, as everyone else fled the island. The eruption destroyed the Flood strain on Earth, while the surviving Vikings, Haemavors, the Doctor and Bill fled. The destruction of the Flood on Earth meant the last remaining strain was encased in a glacier on Mars, until the humans arrived. On the 21st of November 2059, a pioneering team at their base on Mars were attacked by the Flood. Thanks to a broken water filter, the virus managed to infect Andy Stone when he ate a carrot he had washed with the water from the glacier. The Flood proceeded to overrun Bowie Base One, which eventually led to Captain Adelaide Brooke initiating Action 5. The resulting nuclear detonation destroyed Bowie Base One, the surviving crew, the infected personnel, and the flood. Many on Earth mourned the crew's death but remained unaware of why Adelaide had destroyed Bowie Base One. It was this event that led to her granddaughter being inspired, so that 30 years later Susie Fontana Brooke was the pilot of the first light-speed ship to Proxima Centauri, and then everywhere, with her children and her children's children forging the way to the Dragon Star, the Celestial Belt of the Winter Queen, the map of the water snake wormholes. One day a Brooke would even fall in love with a Tandonian prince, and that was the start of a whole new species. But everything started with Adelaide Brooke on Mars. But what if the story changed? Well, the 10th Doctor visited Bowie Base One at the same time that the flood infected Andy Stone. Aided by the Doctor, the crew attempted to battle the flood, tracing the source of the virus, the Doctor theorising on the cause of the virus and how it became trapped, the details he would later learn with Bill. Meanwhile, the flood learnt the abundance of water on Earth through the infected Margaret Kane and expressed a desire to reach Earth in order to spread. As the situation worsened, the flood infected Maggie, Andy, Steffi, Roman, and Tarak started shattering the ice holding the rest of the flood in order to release it. Though the Doctor originally refused to help as the destruction of Bowie Base One was a fixed point in time, the Doctor experienced a moment of monstrous revelation. Having lost so much, and so many, he declared himself the Time Lord victorious, and attempted to save Adelaide, Mia, and Yuri. He wasn't just going to fight the flood, but time itself. In great desperation, the Doctor burnt through resources until he discovered Gadget, a robot capable of going out onto the planet's surface and retrieving his blue box. The Doctor managed to transport the survivors safely into the TARDIS. However, before departure, Adelaide, knowing that what the future should be and the present must stay, initiated Action 5, which activated a nuclear device under Bowie Base One. The resulting nuclear blast destroyed Bowie Base One, the infected crew members, and the flood. The Doctor returned the remaining crew members home and had a chilling confrontation with Adelaide, declaring himself all-powerful and capable of causing great change. He had become vain and arrogant. This wasn't the Doctor. This wasn't the future that was meant to be. To correct the timeline, there would have to be a sacrifice, as Adelaide committed suicide in her home on Earth to correct the timeline. Mia and Yuri spread the story of the flood infection of Bowie Base One and Adelaide's heroic actions to stop them. This would later inspire Susie Fontana Brooke to lead humanity into the stars and keep her legacy intact. This trauma also allowed the Doctor to see he had gone too far, as he neared his prophesied demise. And that is the history of the Flood, one of Doctor Who's most threatening forces that is often forgotten. It's an enemy almost impossible to beat, and one that nearly drove the Doctor to his darkest moments, playing the universe like a chess game, much like Fenric had intended all those years ago. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, comment below, and hit that big friendly subscribe button. Now, if you are supporting my page on Patreon, you help this channel grow and receive a bunch of great rewards, including the digital art piece based on the Waters of Mars episode the Flood first appeared in. Also, in certain tiers, you can get a shout out like Time Lord Stefan Pastran. Thank you, Stefan. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, 24 hours early too, and I really appreciate the support. With all that said, thank you very much for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.